Welcome to the Holly Hibbard Leadership Podcast, your go-to source for actionable insights, practical advice, and inspiring stories to help you lead with faith-filled purpose at work and at home. If you're looking to equip, empower, and encourage yourself to thrive in an ever-changing world, you're in the right place. I'm Holly Hibbard, and with over 20 years of experience as a science teacher, leadership coach, entrepreneur, and relationship mentor, I understand the challenges and growth opportunities that come with pursuing your passion. Whether you're chasing career goals, taking entrepreneurial leaps, or finally reaching for those long postponed ambitions, I'm here to help. So let's get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations and explore ways you can lead your family, lead your life, and find your calling with intention and faith. Welcome back to the show, my friends. If you are new here, extra special hello to you for being here, and thank you for giving the Holly Hibbard Leadership Podcast a listen. Okay. Today's going to be kind of a journal, diary entry type episode because I want to talk about when rest feels impossible. And not because I have an inkling that you need that message, but really I need that message. And so this is going to be a way for me to flush out and sort out the details and figure out how I can bring more rest to my life. I also want to talk to you and share with you how in the last couple years, the drastic changes in my life have really made rest so much more important, but also much more challenging. So if you are perhaps in a season of your life where maybe rest felt easier at one point, and now it feels so far-fetched or so far away, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe rest used to feel very challenging, and now you have a moment going, okay, maybe this is way too easy. Or maybe you feel that you are getting adequate rest, but still don't feel refreshed or rested. So let's talk about a couple of these different scenarios, shall we? I will give some history. If you haven't listened to my previous episodes, you can always go back and listen to the episode about the passing of my mom and what the last 2 years of my life generally had incurred. But I think I'll just focus this time on my personal life as a solo human being. So prior to my mom's cancer diagnosis, I had been single for a very, very long time. And man, I wanted nothing more than a partner, a husband, a family. There was just so much. And it was the center of so many of my prayers. And when I met my now husband, I had been single for, I don't know, off and on, probably about 6 years or so, 7 years. And for that period of time, for the most part, I either lived with a roommate or two, or for the last few years, most recently, I had lived on my own. And it was just me and my dog and my cat. And I ran my business from home. My brother was my next door neighbor. And my mom didn't live too far from me. But essentially, the only person I had to worry about was me. And I was in my early 40s. And I had relocated back to Michigan from Florida. And in that, it was even difficult for me to find friends and people to be around because here I was, 40, single, no kids. And a lot of the connection points for me to other people and friendships, especially in the Midwest, it's about moms meeting other moms. Well, I wasn't a mom. And, couples meeting other couples. Well, I wasn't in a couple. I was in a very unique situation. And in those moments where I would feel lonely and feel like, oh, I'm so bored, I could rest all the time, I'm tired of doing nothing, I would bury myself into my entrepreneurship, into my business. But also I would remind myself, there will be time in the future where you will miss this time. And I can tell you, friends, I'm living in that. And that's not to say that my life now as a married woman and raising an almost 11-year-old girl, it is, again, everything that I prayed for and everything that I wanted to have my family and my home and good friends and great neighbors and and a career that I enjoy, something I'm so loving. But man, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. And even in the last couple months where I've really worked on making a habit of being in the gym on weekdays by 6 a.m., for me, that means I need to be up at 5 to get things going, make sure my daughter is set up. But also that means I'm going to bed earlier. And because essential for me is sleep. I'm learning the impact of sleep is so important for me. But that's caused a shift in a weird way, because while I'm prioritizing myself on one end, on the other end is, oh man, I should be spending more time like with my husband over here, or do I really have to sleep to have rest or feel rested? And I've found that as I prioritized my sleep, I'm recognizing that it does help me have more focus, more energy, more creativity. But also, I didn't realize how much chronic stress I had and still continue to carry from the last couple of years. I would imagine it's because of all the different life changes combined with my mom's illness and the grief process during her diagnosis, during her treatment, after her passing, and at the same time being there for my family. Because again, it used to be just me. And I'll be the first to admit, it is very easy for me to feel self-absorbed. I wouldn't say selfish, because I have to a fault, have an issue of putting other people before myself. And that's something I'm consistently working on. But I can become very self-absorbed in my own world where I'm just focusing on what's the step that's in front of me. And all these things make me feel tired. In another episode, I had highlighted the different facets of the human body. There is not just the physical body, but there's the mental and the emotional and the spiritual. And it's so much more. Feeling rested is so much more than only sleep. And when there are times in my life where I'm so busy and I'm getting less sleep than I know I need, that's when I need to look at the other areas, my emotional body, my mental body, my spiritual body, and be in the question of how can I re-energize those? Maybe it's I haven't talked to my friends in a really long time or spent one-on-one time with them. And somehow, some way, just doing that for an hour or being on the phone with one of my best friends for 20 minutes. This happened last week. I just felt, okay. I felt rejuvenated in an unconventional sense that I wasn't expecting. And so that's part of what I want to share with you today, is that I've gone through a season where I was completely isolated and rest just felt like too much or boring. And now I'm in the complete opposite, where rest feels fleeting. Or even on a day where I can commit to full-on rest, there is always stuff that needs to happen. I could, for example, take a day where I'm committed not to do anything having to do with my career or my job, my director role with the nonprofit that I'm with. But all of a sudden, I have a million things to do in the home. Laundry needs to be done. Dishes need to be put away. And, it's not the end of the world. These are all part of being a responsible adult. But I also know, I would just really like to go to the store right now and buy a couple new shirts for work, because that needs to happen. Or total transparency, I have been delaying like 2 years going and getting a foot massage. I have a freaking gift card from Christmas from like 2 years ago, and it isn't fully consumed yet because I have not made the time. But I know that would help me feel rested in some capacity, just to mentally check out for a minute. And yeah, my feet hurt too lately with my, 10,000 steps a day commitment, lifting 5 days a week commitment, which I'm proud of. But it's like I get rested in one area, and then over here, I'm wearing out a different part of me. So rest right now can feel impossible. So if you relate to any of this, let's first just give us all permission to notice, man, rest feels kind of far away at the moment. And I want to share with you from my YouVersion Bible app. I thought this was such a good question. And this is actually what prompted me to sit down and record this episode today. Because in scripture, in the Bible, book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 2 through 3 says, by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. And oh my goodness, the video portion that was with this was talking about, hey, did you just read that and notice that even God rested? Even the creator rested, took a break, took a breather, and used it not just to rejuvenate himself, let's say, but more so used it to acknowledge and recognize and appreciate what had been created. And I can tell you right now, I can focus on sleep and getting more sleep, but during my sleep, I am not taking the time to appreciate the things that I created in that day. That's a separate way of resting. Now, when I'm talking with one of my friends or even recording this episode and noticing, oh, you know what, that is a way that I could rest, is just to, in my moment of pause, look at what have you created today? I mean, you've created a sense of home, of pride in the house, of connectedness with my family, a sense of accomplishment. I've created a new project idea. I'm working on putting an online course out there next week. There are things that I haven't taken the moment to appreciate that have been created. And even in scripture, it says that God did that. So I'm thinking, why don't I just appreciate the things I create with my life and in my period of rest? And then the question I wanted to post to you, I thought was so insightful, because again, this episode, I'm titling it When Rest Feels Impossible. And this question said, to finish the statement, to me, God's pattern of resting on the seventh day feels like, so here's where you get to check in with yourself. Does it feel like A, an interesting alternative that I'm curious to explore? Yeah, for me, it does feel like that some days. Does it feel like B, an unrealistic expectation and I need God's help? Yeah, like only the holiest force of the universe can help me get some rest. I feel like that sometimes too. And at times, yeah, I do feel like it's an unrealistic expectation. Or C, an invitation and a challenge. And I chose C for myself and how I feel today. The invitation to rest, it does feel like a challenge, but it is something that I know is important, and that's going to require of me to be more creative with how I rest, but also how I define it. Because if rest is only limited to I get enough sleep, then I may not feel refreshed or rejuvenated spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I might feel refreshed physically, but that's about it. So the question then becomes for me, and maybe this can be my invitation of support and support to you today, is how can rest feel for you mentally? What are some things that you can do or I can do to feel rested mentally? For me, it can just be a moment of turning off all my technology and only being in silence. And this could be driving from point A to point B. This could be when I'm sitting at the bus stop waiting for my daughter to get off the bus after school, turning off the radio, setting my phone aside, and just sitting there in silence. Just giving my brain and my nervous system that feels overstimulated all the time a moment to chill out in some way. The other question can be, how can I emotionally bring rest to my life? And for me, in this time of grief, there are moments where my emotions are very heightened, and there are moments where my emotions are much calmer. And I think knowing what support I need in each moment will help me ensure that I feel rested emotionally. So for example, if I'm having a moment of heightened emotions, heightened anger, heightened grief, heightened stress, I know for each of those who can support me, if anyone, because sometimes the answer is I need to support myself and go and write something down or go be by myself. But sometimes if I'm feeling sad, for example, talking to somebody and calling somebody can be super beneficial. And then the last part of this is, how can you rest yourself when you are feeling spiritually exhausted? And I don't know if spiritual exhaustion for me is a real thing, but feeling far from my faith is something that, like, far away meaning distance, not doubtful, distanced. Like, I haven't listened to a sermon in a while, or I haven't been to a service in a while, or I haven't attended a Bible study in a while. And this can be something totally different for you. That's fine. Take it or leave it. I don't take offense to it. I know what I feel though. And I want to create personal leadership in this world that has faith-filled intention. And I want to ensure that my principles, which in this case for me are biblical principles, are what guide my decisions, my leadership, how I am with people, how I treat people, how I love people, how I forgive people. I think all those things are really important. But if I feel distanced spiritually, like I just haven't sunk my teeth into anything for a while in terms of reading or listening, or, oh man, I can feel spiritually deficient. I think that's a better word than exhausted. Spiritually deficient, and I just know that I need to get plugged back in some small way. So when rest feels impossible, friend, you're all right. You're probably doing better than you think that you are. And sometimes when we feel unable to rest or calm down or get the sleep we need or any of those things I just said, sometimes just having another person to encourage you can be so impactful. Someone just to come alongside you and say, hey, you know what? You're doing better than you think. And I'm blessed in this life to have a number of people in my life who, if anything, they don't need to fix me. They don't need to give me advice, but they are so skilled at saying, you're doing a lot better than you think. Give yourself some credit. Appreciate what you've created, right? The biblical definition of Sabbath here. God appreciated what he made. And I hope this is helpful. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Where are you challenged with rest or feeling rested? Does it feel possible to you? Does it feel far away or impossible? What do you rely on to bring yourself back? Drop me your thoughts. Send me a message. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. I'm high-fiving you right now because I'm so proud of you for putting your personal growth first. Remember, I believe in you, and with faith-filled intention and committed actions, you can lead your life, purpose, and family to wherever you dream possible. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you'd take 30 seconds to help others discover the show. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, share the show with your friends and family, or screenshot this episode to your Instagram stories and tag me at the Holly Hibbard. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. I'm always here cheering you on, and until next time, stay curious, remain encouraged, and keep empowering yourself. You're doing better than you think, I promise.